last two tutorials, we generated an activity called the Great Canadian Challenge using the ActivityMaker template. Let's reopen that. As you recall, we had an introductory page, then we had 3 question items, each of which was 5 points, and then we added a gate. And we said if the student answered 2 out of 3 correct, or 66%, then they proceeded on to level 2. We identified this page as level 2 in the page ID, but never put any content. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So level 2, click on the right arrow to continue, and we'll go ahead and put in, let's change that to heading 1, and we'll add an image, get the image, and let's bring in the Canadian flag. This will automatically scale down. I'll give this an alt tag again for accessibility purposes. Canadian flag. I can put a border around it. I can check border, check color, and let's put a double border around this one, and we'll give it a border size of 3, and we'll make the alignment left, and there we go. There's our border. Actually, I don't really like the border. Now notice it's when we click on the image again, we don't see it. But what we can do is click on this pull down and bring it up. And so what I think I'll do is to remove the border so that it'll have no border. I can even give it a border size of 0. And there we go. We just took away the border. I'll add a page. Now let's create a simple true or false. So we'll change the layout by selecting this little arrow button. Now this is just a simple question, but we can turn that into a true and false type of question. So let's ask the question, the total area of Canada is larger than the United States. So there's a statement. True, just simply type in true, or false. And what will happen is the third and fourth distractors won't even appear. And of course, the answer is true. Again, I said it's a terrific thing just to label your pages. And so maybe what I'll label this as level 2 question 1. Sometimes it's not that important to label your pages, but if you're ever going to branch, if you ever set up your instruction to branch to a page, then you'll definitely want to label it. Our point value, let's just keep it at 5, and we'll go ahead and add another type of question. Notice it defaults to the previous layout. Let's do a matching this time. So I'll select my layout and click on matching. So I'll say something like match the Canadian city to its province. I'm not sure why I'm capitalizing this, but so here we'll put in some provinces. British Columbia, how about Ontario and Quebec. The capital, a Canadian city that matches British Columbia would be Victoria. Ontario would be Toronto, and Quebec would be, well, let's say Montreal. So these are not capital cities, obviously, because Montreal is not a capital city, so just a Canadian city to its province. And again, we'll give this, we can give this 12 points. So we'll weigh this a little heavier. And as you can see, notice how the labeling does help with the pages view, because now we know exactly what this one is. And of course you notice the icon here that represents matching exercise. Let's add a categorization exercise. So let's change the page layout to categories. Categorize each item as being Canadian or American by dragging the item to the correct column. There we go. And we'll call this Canadian. So this particular column will be the Canadian column, and this will be the American column. And so what is distinctly Canadian? Well, how about Prime Minister versus President? Or we could say Parliament versus Congress. So that's enough for now. Obviously we can go further. We have many items that we can add, many more. But that'll be sufficient, and we'll give this a 12-point value as well. So now for level 2, we have essentially upped the ante a little bit, a little more difficult questions. And just to be able to temporarily, just so that I can very quickly, without having to go through level 1 to test level 2, I'm going to add this to the table of contents, and then, or perhaps I'll take that off and take this and add it to the table of contents, just so that I can easily jump there. You have to have at least 2 items in the table of contents for it to work. So let's jump over here to the first item, introduction, and now we'll preview. So this allows me to very, very quickly jump to level 2, but later I'll shut that off, so the students have to succeed in level 1 before going to level 2. So here I have an easy way of jumping now to level 2. And then the total area of Canada is larger. Let's say I say false. And you can see it indicates what the correct answer is. And here I have, these are all randomized. So I have to now, I'll put this in the correct spot, but I'll make a mistake here. Let's see what we see. We have an X here, an X here. And then finally on this item, let's get this totally right. So we have Parliament and we have a Prime Minister. We have a President and a Congress. Let's check that out. Now let's jump to the end. And we'll add a gate. Now this gate, change the layout. This gate will help us to get to level 3. Okay, and let's look for that gate. Where are we? There we are. Let's add a page and change that layout to text. And this will be level 3. We'll go ahead and label this such. And now we have the ability to branch to that page. So here we go. Pass, okay, we want 66%. Don't forget to allow the back button and the next button. Reset the score so that we start anew. If we pass, we're going to go ahead and jump to level 3. Oops. Show feedback. Branch after 2 seconds. We'll save that, and of course let's do, what are we going to do if we fail? Well, we're going to jump to page again, and this time we'll start at the beginning at level 2, so we won't make them go all the way back. And we'll say, sorry, you will need to redo level 2. Of course, we could, alternatively, we could send them to some remediation, but we're trying to keep things simple. And now I'll preview. I'll jump to level 2. Just to be able to test this out. There we are. And let's say I just blow past everything. It's going to send me back to level 2. In order for me to progress to level 3, I would actually have to answer these questions correctly. If I do that very quickly here, there we go. And I'll go ahead and let's see what happens. Congrats, we're moving on to level 3, and now we're at level 3.